Sam, you remember Antoine? Vaguely?
I was on the wrong thing. Yeah. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
I'm about to do some a summer program for a bunch of engineers who have come from France, students.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Between some micros and I don't not.
Say that
Which
again.
city in France?
I can't remember. All over.
All over. Well, it's 12. I know, Stephen, you'll be manning the waiting room, but what we could do is I put the onus on Sam to welcome everyone.
There we go. Well, welcome everybody to our tech school. As people are joining, we're going to welcome everybody. And today we're going to have a discussion on SwiftUI, which I'm super excited about because I'm interested in getting into some more app development. And I know SwiftUI is kind of a cool new thing that Apple's put out, and it's going to really help move app development along. So I'm super excited to be here. I'm going to let Curly introduce our speaker in a moment, but I think we're going to start with Brianna giving a quick city highlights, give a quick pitch of her her company, correct?
Yeah, I was gonna see. I told her to be a little agile when if Andrew pops in, I was gonna have her do it live in front of him. Yeah, I don't see him joining yet, so I'll pause that, Brianna. But be ready. Be ready.
Okie dokie.
But with that, yeah, I'll let Curly introduce the speaker, and we'll go from there.
All right. Thanks, Sam. Sam's heading the innovation hub at Cal State San Marcos, and our cohort that we've been helping is all from there. So it's always great to have Sam on. One thing I was always thinking about Antoine is like this, I would call Antoine a Renaissance person. Antoine did our videos. Percentage started, we cut all the videos, did camera work, made sure that when we had our city highlights in Apple, he would do all the photography from it. But he also is like very skilled at front end and back end development and user experience. It's definitely a Renaissance man. He has a professional bio I can read off here. It's like he's a digital transformation consultant at IBM XI, tech and startup enthusiast, passionate about user experience, like I said, and new technologies. And he's always driven by challenges. The one thing I always loved about Antoine is his curiosity. Even what Fokcus is very curious at new things that we can implement, or new ideas we can implement. So I asked Antoine if he can actually do on some topic that's going to help our cohorts. And some of our cohorts are doing mobile development, like Brianna with Hive, senior care company. We'll hear about that later. And even with Sunny. So I feel like mobile is really good for our cohort. So thanks, Antoine, for coming on and talking. And before you start and take over, I'll let Stephen add anything.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Curling. So I was just gonna, have a quick message for everyone out there. So you may be watching this on Zoom right now. I think we're gonna post this to YouTube later. So if you guys have comments or questions, throughout this talk, if you're on Zoom right now, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, you can do the same too. And if you're watching on a YouTube live, we'll try to get to maybe some questions afterwards if there's something on there. But also for those of you that are watching this recording later on, feel free to give this video a like or a comment or something like that, because the more interaction we get, the more people see it, and the more people we can help and with some of this content. So yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks, Stephen. All right, you have the floor, Antoine. But thanks for coming on. I know it's late there in France, but thanks for coming on.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Caroline, for the introduction. So I will share my screen. So yeah, it's 9 p.m. Right now in France. So,
but you know, all engineers are all night owls, so it's all good.
Let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see it, Antoine.
Perfect. So as Caroline said, I'm a digital transformation consultant at IBM. I'm based in France, in Paris. So just before starting the talk with SwiftUI, I will just explain what is a digital transformation consultant. So what do I do? We sell services to solve business and technology challenges. So at the moment, I'm working for a tourism company in France that try to have a unified, a 360 view of the customer. Then I help businesses thrive in the digital journey. So at IBM, we just entered the chapter 2 of the digital journey, which is the journey to the cloud. So we try to bring our clients and accompany them to the cloud. And the last thing is to deliver a better experience for the final customer. So how, thanks to technology, can we deliver a better experiences? So I think this SwiftUI is a technology that can help deliver better experiences and solve business problem quicker than before because the learning curve from what we had before to develop mobile application to SwiftUI is easier, I would say. So SwiftUI has been introduced last year by Apple, and it's a new way to build a user interface. So this is the pitch. This is the Apple pitch. This is the shortest path to building great apps on every device. So the Apple ecosystem is composed by the Mac, the TV OS. So the TV, is, Apple doesn't have a TV, but they have the Apple TV that can be plugged to any screen. So the screen can be a PC monitor, or it can be a TV. They have the iPad, they have the iPhone, and they have the watch. So there is 5 main devices, and each devices have its own purpose. So in January 2020, there were 1.4 billion devices in the world, around the globe. So there is a population behind these devices. There is customers behind these devices. So like I said, this is the ecosystem. And why I think it's better to do Apple development more than Android development is because most of the devices of the Apple ecosystem is running on the last version of the OS. What does it mean and why does it matter? It's because every new OS, every new version, there is novelty. And this novelty can be only compatible with the last OS. So compared to Android, the last version of Android today is 16%. So that means that the last feature that Google introduced at Google I/O every year can be available to only 60% of the total use base, compared to Apple, where we already, after 1 year, have 79% of all the ecosystem. So I think this is a strength of Apple, knowing that. So maybe you can ask the question, but what if we use, I forget the word, hybrid development? So hybrid development is like React Native, Ionic, which is we develop in JavaScript and then we can deploy to both Android and iOS. So I would say the only difference that it's getting smaller and smaller is performance. when it's native, the performance is closer to the method. So it's faster compared to a React Native. The second thing is because the framework, so the React Native framework, for example, they have to plug to the new API of the mobile to be able to catch every novelty. So if you're a native mobile developer, you can use all the novelty compared to a React Native developer, for example. So for example, Apple and Google just deploy the new API tracing for COVID-19 today. So they just released it, but to use it, at least I didn't check the docs, so maybe I'm wrong here, but to use it, you need to use it natively. React Native, I guess, cannot use it yet. So it has been developed for Swift and for Kotlin. So to move forward, each of these devices have its own OS. So OS is operating system. So this is what runs the app. So the Mac is Mac OS, iPad and iPhone is iPad OS since last year, and iOS, then tvOS, and then watchOS. So to develop an app, there is a language. The language is Swift, and it has been introduced in 2014 to replace Objective-C. So Objective-C was a pretty strong language. It was hard to understand and to translate from another language. Meaning, so at my basis, I'm a web developer. So what I'm doing, I was doing PHP, I was doing JavaScript, Python. And from this language, Objective-C for me was hard to understand. It was hard to translate. Swift is more readable, is closer to the modern language. So it's easier to understand and translate from another language, for example. The only strength of Swift, and this is one step from Apple, it's that it is open source. So why does it matter? It's if it was closed, maybe the Swift language would be just for Apple devices. Because it's open source, some developer, some community developed around this language a server-side framework, for example. So we can use Swift to do anything like Python, PHP, and Go. We can now do front-end website with Swift. So it's not spread, but we can do it. And the other thing is Swift for machine learning. So Google have a framework which is called TensorFlow. TensorFlow use Python, and Google developed a library for Swift. So this is, I found myself a pretty good step from the community to say, we believe in Swift. So I think Swift have a lot of path to do compared to the mature language today, but it has, I think, a good future, a great future. So this is how you develop apps. Each devices have its own framework. So AppKit, UIKit, TVUIKit, UIKit, and WatchKit is different framework that Apple develops. So what I call a framework is a library. A library for myself is functions, methods, things that is proper to a device. So let's say in AppKit, you have the 3 buttons on top of your app, which is close, reduce, or full screen. These 3 buttons, you don't have that on an iPhone, or you don't have that on a TV. So this is proper to AppKit because this is proper to the device. Same thing for UIKit. The swipe, because there is no more home button, or the home button before, that was proper to iPad and iPhone. So the action to understand that we click on a button or we swipe up to go back to the homepage is proper to these devices. So that's why we have a different library. It's because the devices allow different things and can do different things. And that's why SwiftUI was developed. Why? It's because all this thing was a different skill. So it was the same language, Swift and Objective-C, but the way of thinking was different. So it was, at least, I don't know a lot of people, but it's rare that someone who know how to develop an iOS app know very well how to develop a macOS app. Usually it's two different skill sets. And that's why SwiftUI came in the game. So it's declarative. So it's a framework that is easy to understand. You compose what you do. It's automatic and it's consistent. So I insist on the word consistent. So thanks to SwiftUI, you have no one framework for all devices. Meaning before, to develop a UI for each of these devices, you had different libraries. Now you just have SwiftUI. You only need to use SwiftUI if you want to develop a UI for a Mac, an iPad, a TV, or a watch. So this is game-changing for a mobile developer, because if he learns how to use SwiftUI, then he can take this skill and put it to develop a macOS application. So I think this is great. I'm quite happy about what Apple did here. So just to illustrate what I'm saying, I will do a small demonstration here. Caroline, can you see Xcode here? Can you see the?
Yes, I can see it, okay. Antoine, and real quick, everyone who's on, if they have any questions as Antoine's going on over this, you can just chat, put your questions on the Zoom chat. But yeah, I can see everything, Antoine.
Okay, so before, so I don't know if there is any iOS developer here, but before it was Storyboard, and Storyboard was to be simulate in a simulator to see what's going on the screen or to test it out. Thanks to SwiftUI, now we have something called the preview, which is here, and it's live. So here it's good morning, I can say good afternoon, and it's changing directly in the preview. So yes, this is hot reloading in web, but this is new in the iOS ecosystem. So like you see here, I do have one screen, which is a view. And within my view, I have a text. And this text is good afternoon. And I can see that good afternoon is here. So let's say I want to put another text below. So there is a concept which is called stack. That means that it's a group of objects. So in my stack, I will put another text, which is welcome to tech school. So the text here, I will put it back in the stack. So what I called compositional is here I do have text. And now my text, I want to modify it. So what do I use? I use something called a modifier. So a modifier is used by a dot. And with the modifier, I can just say, I want to use a font, which is a headline, for example. And then getting bold easily. So welcome to the school. I can say I want, I don't know, a font which is the sub headline, for example. And then this font, I want the font to be, there we go, yellow, for example. Yellow maybe won't be easy to read, so I will put blue. And then it's getting blue. So, so here you can see that it's easy to read that I have a text which is a headline, and now I have a text which is a sub-headline and blue. Now in this VStack, so my VStack here is my two text. I want to add another thing, which is an image, for example. So my image, so I already preload an image, which is called background. So I just want to add my image just below my text. So it's in the VStack, vertical stack. And here I want to add a background black to be able to see better the image here. And here I will put the foreground white to be able to read it better. I can see that my text is kind of close to the top of the image, so we'll just add a padding here. On top, and yes, that's it. So I just designed a small card with two text and an image with just that. The other thing that is great, that has been inspired by the web, which was I call state. So an app can have different states. A state can be activated, enabled or disabled by an event. So here I will create an event which is on top. So this is my event here. What I will say is, so first I will declare a state. So I will call my state show. Oh, yeah. And I will say that show will toggle the value on tap gesture. So here I don't use show anywhere. What I will do just for the fun, I will put it here in the foreground saying if show is true, then put the color of the text yellow, otherwise put it blue. So to test that, I just click on play here. So it's not simulator, so it's kind of lighter. Okay. Resume. There we go. So what's happening here is when I will click on the card, the show will begin true, and then the yellow will appear for the text. So I click, and then it's yellow. I click again because it's a toggle, it's false, so it's blue. So I show the state, sorry, can enable a lot of things in the app, and it's kind of easy to put in place. Because before there was method to set something differently, and now it's just a state. So it's just one line of code, and we can use a ternary operator here. So that was a quick demo of SwiftUI. So to come back here, be careful. SwiftUI is just, it's not a write once, run anywhere. It's more learn once, apply anywhere. Because like I told you before, some of these devices have different features. The Mac app, you have 3 buttons on the top. The iPhone, you have the swipe or the home button. So it's different. The crazy thing, so it's now a trend. What Apple introduced, oh, I do have, so what Apple introduced last year inspired Microsoft 2 days ago. So they introduced a new project, which is called Project Reunion. So what is Project Reunion is to develop an Windows app. There was different API because there is some app that is on classic desktop. There is some app which is on Windows tactile devices. And they create a Project Reunion, which is exactly like SwiftUI, which is you use one framework to develop on any Windows devices. So the model is spreading. To finish, I will just introduce some trends right now, because development wants to be more and more accessible to anyone. So one of the trends is what we call low code. So it's instead of coding everything, try to use the less code possible and use the code if you need to customize something. So one of the technology that is growing right now, it's Microsoft Power Apps. So the Power Apps is a drag and drop kind of developing, where you say there is a form. Behind this form, you can trigger something. Another trend is serverless, which is execute a function when needed. Today, let's say you have a blog on WordPress, your backend of WordPress is always running. So there is a Ubuntu virtual machine somewhere, and it's always running. So you pay the 24 hours of running the machine. The serverless is when someone is consulting your website, then you just ask your serverless function to give you back the response, and that's it. And then he can go back to sleep. So you just pay for what you use. So I don't know if you heard the pay as you use about the cloud, but this is kind of the same idea here. The other trend is cross-platform. So I talked about you for React Native. So in the long run, I guess cross-platform is not, I would say it's not the way to go, but it's a good way to go if you want a fast go-to-market. If you want to do something quick and try it out in the market, then use cross-platform, because it's easier to find skills. It's easier to find a web developer than a mobile developer. So if you need to try something fast in the market, go for cross-platform. And if you see that you have customers, then see how you can move to the native platform. The other thing is Jamstack. So Jamstack is you build your website, and when you build it, it's not JavaScript as before, it's just pure HTML and CSS. Why does it matter? Because you have speed and performance. Because the 5 or 6 months before, no, 5 years, I would say before, we introduced a lot of JavaScript, a lot of languages, a lot of frameworks, and this has hurt the performance. So now we're getting back to the source of speed and performance. Linked to the Jamstack is what I call the headless CMS. So the headless CMS is like WordPress. So you have somewhere where you have your content, and this content can be used by any devices. It can be a website, it can be a mobile phone, a mobile app, or it can be anything else, what you want. And then the last trends I have is the omnichannel. So as a customer, omnichannel is whatever means channel I'm using to contact a company. Anyone in the company know what was my previous interaction. So it's a unified experience for the customers. So as you can see that here, the trends is what, as a consultant, as a digital transformation consultant, we try to provide to a customer to deliver a better experience to the customer. So here is some resources if you want to learn about SwiftUI. You can go to the Apple developer website. And then there is a website which is called Design Plus Code, which is very, very great because it's a designer who learned to code. So you will code something very beautiful. And because he's not a developer at his curriculum, he will explain it very, very clear, I would say, crystal clear. There is a blog which is called Hacking with SwiftUI, which is also great. There is a lot of articles on it. And if you do have an iPad, there is Swift Playgrounds that can allow you to learn Swift. So just the language, not the framework, but the language of Swift, how you do loops, conditions, etc., etc. And the next meeting for Apple will be next month, the 22nd of June, and will be online. So the WWDC is the Worldwide Developer Conference that happens every year. And this is the conference that Apple used to announce new libraries. So as I said, React Native won't use directly what Apple will introduce next month. But if you use native mobile application, you can directly use the framework in your next app. So that's it for me. Thank you for listening. And I hope you learned something today.
That was great, Antoine. I really like the developer trends part, right? Because that actually helps a lot of the startups and a lot of people who watch tech school, like what those trends look like. I have a few questions for you from some of the startups. I have some things, but I always been lately what we've been doing, Antoine, is that give priority to people that are on. And so if any group has any questions, you can unmute yourself and you can ask Antoine any questions. If not, I'll Brianna looks like she has one. She says, "Can you?"
Yes, you can. So yes, you can. There is. I will send you an article because it's not a straightforward method. I don't know if I can show it to you. Let me wait a minute. Just 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's a good question, Brianna. I remember Antoine.
So,
oh yeah, you got it, Antoine.
I don't know if you can see my screen here.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
So this is Swift Playground, and at the top I import something. So it's a library which is called Playground Support. So if you import Playground Support and then you just use it, and you can have a live preview. So here you code, here you have the preview. So I can find the article for you to know how to do it, because I learned that maybe 2 weeks ago. So it's very recent that I know that we can do that on Playground.
Oh, that's good. And we'll put the link under your YouTube video, Antoine. Any other questions from the cohort or from and I see other people. I see Ganesh and Jay here. We have a couple of some of our interns, Antoine from Fokcus online too. That's great. So if you guys have any questions, Jay or Ganesh, that's fine. I have some of the questions I had from the other startups. One question offhand is, Antoine, know how everyone puts all their effort into creating an app, right? An iOS app. How easy from using like the previous convention to moving over or like quote unquote migrating to the Swift UI? Like, do you have any feedback on that? Like if someone already has iOS and
No, I don't have
any
any
feedback?
feedback on that. There is two ways I'm aware of. The first one is I know that you can use SwiftUI for some of your screen.
Okay.
So if your app is not too big, you can create the new screen with SwiftUI and maybe convert some of the other screen to SwiftUI. But it's the migration is not a straightforward path. The other thing I heard of is if you use, for example, version control. So version control is Git. So I don't know if you know GitHub.
Yeah.
So on GitHub, you can push your code. So what you can do when you push your code is you can create branch. So you can create another, you can create the other app on another branch. So this is the other way. You create a branch to migrate every screen to SwiftUI. You test it, and then when it's okay, you just migrate the branch to the master one. You build your app, and then you publish it to the App Store. So as a customer, I didn't see the move from before to SwiftUI, but as a developer, I did all my work on another branch, so my current code is safe. So this is the other method.
Other method to do it. I guess the other question too is when we talked, we had a previous one, and I was talking to another startup about this, is that there was this preference, and you showed a slide on there about the preference on moving to iOS first after maybe doing cross-platform, maybe iOS versus Android. Is there a reason why? I even looked in your slide. Like, is there a reason why, like, the current iOS users have like the most current OS versus, you know, I think you had the slide had 16% Android and then like 79% iOS. Can you explain why that's so?
So this is supposition, but there is for me 3 reasons why iOS is on the last version compared to Android. First, iOS is only on Apple devices. It's just one set of devices and that's all. Android is Samsung, is LG, is Huawei, is OnePlus, is BlackBerry now, is everyone. Apple have just some set of screens. So as a developer, you just develop an app for, I think there is no 5 or 6 different screens size. Android, you have everything. You have maybe 1 billion of screen size. So it's easier as a developer to break an app on Android. So because maybe it will work on the 50% of the Android phone, but the other 50% devices, because you didn't think about the screen size, won't work as expected. So the experience on Android devices is worse than the iOS devices. It's easier to break, so you can have a worst experience. So I would say that if I'm a user of Android and I have a bad experience to upgrade my OS, then I want to upgrade it. I would say that the luck of Apple is there is a mistake from Apple when they do upgrade, but they patch it kind of quickly, and it's not. It's minor. I would say it's minor. How do we say that? It's minor defect. It's not a. It doesn't affect the whole experience compared to an Android. That when you open the app just crash. So I guess this is why today iOS, a lot of people can upgrade to the last version of iOS compared to Android.
No, that makes sense, and because in a lot of ways, right, startups have like this limited resource, right? So it's like, okay, where are you gonna put where should you put your focus on? I like how you put on a focus on if you want to go to market first, a bit more cross-platform, right? A bit more web mobile. Explain that a little bit more though.
Yes. So there is way more JavaScript developer on the market than there is Kotlin or Swift developer. So because you have more people, it's way easier to find someone that can help you to build the app faster.
Yeah.
This is, I would say that the cross-platform is the technology that answers the most MVP, minimum viable product. You can build a MVP with a cross-platform. You have enough features in cross-platform framework to build an MVP. But when more and more people will use it, it will be so. The thing that I think it's dangerous for cross-platform is that it I don't have the word. It depends. Yes, it depends on open source. So React Native is JavaScript libraries. JavaScript libraries is open source. Anyone can push any code anytime. Meaning that if one of this package, someone malicious put something bad in one of these package, it will be on the app because it's 100 open source. So when you build it, you just take the malicious thing and you put it in your app. Compared to Apple, where the framework that introduced you, so SwiftUI, UIKit, AppKit, is closed. The language is open source. The libraries are closed and secure. So I would say if you have 1 million users, you are Facebook and you have a lot of engineers for your security. But if you're a startup, be careful of the security of your app.
That's good. That's good feedback. Steven, any questions offhand?
Yeah, I got a quick question for you, Antoine. So you mentioned, going from being a web developer to Objective-C, right? You kind of touched on that at the beginning of your presentation. If you, now I know there's probably a number of people, we know, and maybe people who will watch this video who, let's say, are coming from the realm of web development, right? And I know that's a little different than, maybe some other types of developers. Is there any hurdles that you found jumping from web development now to Swift and SwiftUI? And if there were difficulties there, what were they and how did you, overcome those?
So as a web developer, I was more a front-end developer. So a front-end is using HTML and CSS mostly, and then JavaScript if you want to add more things. So what I introduced you just before, it's very, very, very close to HTML and CSS. So let me share back my screen just to show you. So HTML is a language. It's a markup language that structure your code. CSS is style. You just style your structure. And then JavaScript, you use it to add state, to add event, to trigger something. So here you have the code of SwiftUI. So here for me, VStack text image is exactly like HTML. In HTML, you have, how do you, no, this is in French. I think it's markup. Yeah, you have markup in HTML, which is div, main, nav, image. So here you can find the HTML. Then the CSS is this here, which is the font is a headline. The foreground color is white. And then the JavaScript is, I do have a state here. I do have a function which is saying toggle my state. And then you have the dynamic part of your code, which is if show is true, then yellow, otherwise blue. So with SwiftUI, as a front-end developer, I find my mark here with how it's structured. It's different, but understandable, and I can see kind of the web here, I would say.
That was a good demo, and actually showed a little bit, Antoine, the similarities, right? If someone knew about JavaScript and CSS, they went to SwiftUI, it would be too much of a learning curve, right? Some of the methodologies.
It won't be too much if you just design the user interface. It won't be too much coming from a front end. But the two prerequisites to develop well, mobile app, at least iOS, you need to have a Mac. So this is already like a step to take. And the second thing is, no, you just need a Mac. This is the step. And then behind the scene, there is more than just SwiftUI. So SwiftUI is the view. It's just what you will display. And then behind the scene, you have controller that will talk to your model, so your data. So this part is the same as before. What Apple introduces is just the view, a new way to describe a view.
That's great. And I like how you said that, like a model view controller architect. I know we have. I had a couple more questions, but I was that Professor Clark, do you have any questions for Antoine?
No, I don't have any questions. I again think that SwiftUI is a great development for people getting into app development, and it'll be interesting what Apple releases and the updates they're going to make in June. So I'm excited to see what's new coming out with that.
And this will be the first time that WWDC will be online, I guess, completely online. Is that what it is?
Yes, it will.
Yeah, I'm going to see how it looks and how it feels, and maybe we'll do a fall entrepreneurship conference with the Innovation Hub in the same format, since we're online too.
Good. That's a good point, Sam. It'd be a similar format, and we can just all do it at your house.
Yeah.
What I want to do offhand is give time. We always do that little city highlight piece, a little nod to it to highlight a startup. We have one startup, Brianna, the founder of, I always call it the Hive. It was all Citizen Hive. Brianna, you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. So
Did you want me to share that screen?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
share your screen.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to go through the whole thing or just
Yeah. I think
Okay.
you do the whole thing. Yeah.
Alrighty, so Citizens Hive, a senior care company. We're going to be transforming the senior care experience for everyone. Now, over 40% of seniors that go into nursing homes become depressed. Now, this is due to feelings of being lonely, being misunderstood, and being neglected. Now, our solution is to be bringing senior citizens into a home environment that provides personalized care while keeping families connected. Now, what we do. So Citizens Hive is an easy to use smartphone app that connects caregivers who have vacant rooms in their homes and connect them with seniors in need.
All right, good job, Brianna. Good work. And one reason I wanted to bring yours up is because you were working on this one slide, and I wanted Antoine to look at it.
Yeah,
Antoine,
I'm so excited to kind of play around with the Swift playgrounds, just so I can, create something that's going to be user friendly.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. Antoine, is it what if she does a Swift playground, she can create like a little mock-up of what she wanted to create and then screenshot it and put it in her slide. Have you seen people use it in that way, Antoine?
Yes, she can. Yes.
Awesome.
That's great. All right, well, good job, Brianna. I like the updated slide. I want Antoine to see it. Well, we're if there's no more other questions offhand, we're at 12:50 now. Antoine, thank you so much. One thing is that you're a brave person doing the live demo. There's always it's always issues when I've done live demos, but you pulled it off. So great job on that. I know you just uploaded a link. We'll put some of these links that you have for resources and stuff like that onto the YouTube live. And I think it'd be real fun if maybe certain aspects of the slide we'll see what that looks like, that people can actually see the actual slides. We'll see what that looks like. But thank you so much. Did you have fun, Antoine?
Yes, I did. Thank you for the invitation, Caroline and Steven.
It's great. Steven,
Okay.
any last thoughts?
I just say to anyone who, if you're watching this video on our recording on YouTube, like I mentioned before, the more that you guys, let's say, if you guys comment, if you guys have questions, we can do our best to answer them, maybe even forward them on to Antoine, to our expert here. And, the more that you guys, like and interact with that video, more people will see it, right? It'll have a further reach. So it might reach somebody who might need to know a little bit more about SwiftUI and things like that. So, so if you can, give that video a like, and if you want to, know more about our future videos or anything else that we posted, our recordings from tech school and stuff like that, so you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. So.
Thanks, and thank for some of the startups that came, like from Andreas. Drew came on too, and Ganesh and Jay are our interns too. Thanks for everyone come on and the kind of in studio. Sam, any last thoughts about Innovation Hub or any feedback?
Just everybody knows we're going to be launching our Summer Innovation Challenge this June 1st. And so we're looking at how we can help K-12 schools get back on campus this fall. So that will benefit all of us who are trying to get back to work also. So anyway, that's coming out June. You'll see information about it.
All right. And I think parents all over our county are like, that's great. That's like, thanks for helping the community. All right. Thank you everyone for coming on Tech School. Thank you, Antoine. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, Antoine.